To outsiders, he was quiet and reserved. To those who knew him, he was competitive, ready to do anything to come out on top. To England fans, he was loyal. To the city of Liverpool, he was a hero. Football came before everything. In an illustrious professional career that spans over 20 years, Gerrard has experienced and succeeded at most aspects of the sport, lifting trophies as a player and manager, representing his country and breaking records. But with the highs came the lows.
And I'd just like to say a big thank you to my legal team, to my friends and family, and everyone at Liverpool Football Club for supporting me.
This is the journey of one of England's most stalwart leaders, Gerrard.
You could see the flames from 10 miles away as Liverpool burnt in the worst night of rioting ever seen in mainland Britain. Hundreds of police were injured. They used their riot shields, but often found them useless against determined youngsters armed with bricks, shovels, iron bars and the rest.
Since the bins have been emptied. They won't empty the bins, they're dumping rubbish over there. With no lights on the stairs, I could go on forever, love, and they won't do nothing.
I don't think it's nice to be run out of money. Liverpool don't think it's fair either.
A local boy, Steven Gerrard, was born within 10 miles of Anfield in the town of Whiston, Merseyside. Huyton, where the Gerrard family settled, had a big impression on Steven's character. His streetwise upbringing and the kids on the estate prepared him for the battles to come later in life. That, coupled with a competitive older brother, always striving to get the better of him, tested his temperament and volatility. It was here that one of England's greatest midfielders would begin his journey. Gerrard played competitive football for Whiston FC, a change of environment from the rough, concrete-laden estate. By the age of 6, teachers had noticed his raw footballing talent in the playgrounds. The future Liverpool legend taught himself with hours and hours of playing in the streets. Repeating his technique over and over again, Gerrard honed his craft. By the age of 9, Gerrard received the call he'd dreamt of, a call from his boyhood club. Steven joined the Liverpool Centre of Excellence, now known as the Academy. Scouts saw potential in his ability, technique and competitiveness, born out of his gladiatorial upbringing. A freak accident would put everything he dreamt of on the line. When Gerrard was 9, he kicked his football into a bush full of nettles and attempted to kick it out, but accidentally kicked a garden fork. The fork ended up going through his trainers and into the big toe of his right foot. Doctors wanted to amputate the toe, but his father and Liverpool's academy director Steve Highway were credited with preventing an operation to amputate it, a moment that would have altered his fortunes forever. Steve Highway, a member of Shankly's legendary 1970s team, took the reins, guiding him through his academy years. One task for those who coached the young maverick was to stamp out his aggression and reduce his tendency to receive yellow cards, a natural consequence of his mentality to win at all costs. An obsession grew inside. Coveting a first-team place grew with every training session. He was striving to emulate his footballing heroes, John Barnes, Ian Rush, and Paul Gascoigne. The successful history of the club inspired a young Steven Gerrard to make history of his own. Offers had flown in from home and abroad as early as 14 years old. But the draw of starring for the team he supported was too great. Liverpool saw a natural leader in Gerrard and signed him professionally at 17. He was vocal and quick, possessing a precise long ball ability and an aggressive box-to-box work ethic. Luckily, he arrived at the professional level as price tags and wages were exponentially growing.
Stan Collymore broke new ground at £8.5 million. And Alan Shearer at 15 million proved in football money is often no object. At the end of the day, it's the football fan who foots the bill, and it's not just mega transfer fees that have to be financed. Star players also demand star salaries, and irrespective of whether the clubs can afford it, the amounts now being paid, according to today's report, are up in the millions.
Gerrard had his first taste of first-team football on November the 29th, 1998. A substitute appearance against Blackburn Rovers got his career underway.
A youngster who's never even featured on the team sheet before, promoted from the youth side. Fresh-faced teenager Steven Gerrard.
Number 28, Steven Gerrard.
His first start came against Tottenham. Tasked with marking the French wizard David Ginola, Gerrard was substituted 53 minutes in after failing miserably at his role. With every failure came an opportunity to improve. And improve he did. The following season, Gerrard showcased the inceptive signs of his goal-scoring ability. Kid.
Stevie! There we are, boys. That's what it's all about.
Football in Liverpool was paramount. Anfield was their church. The die-hard fandom culture piled pressure on a young Liverpudlian with dreams of one day leading the team onto the turf. As a local boy, distancing yourself from the culture that surrounded the northwest city was impossible. Never walking alone, Gerrard embodied the Liverpudlian way of life. With red flowing through his veins, he lived and breathed Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, we got them done, yeah. Well done, well done.
Liverpool has a rich history of success. But the events of 1989, when 96 supporters lost their lives, influenced an emotional connection to the Liverpool outfit better than any.
It's a Saturday night in Liverpool no one will ever forget. Late-night revellers aren't to be seen, and here at Lime Street Station, relatives and friends of the missing wait for the next train in hope.
The Hillsborough disaster remains to this day the darkest moment in the club's history. Like most Liverpool supporters, Stephen closed his eyes in bed that night, placing faith that those close to him were unscathed. But the events that day left an enduring pain that remains raw to this day. A knock on his family home the following morning confirmed that his late cousin John Paul Gilhooly was caught up in the deadly chain of events. His passing triggered an even deeper bond in Gerrard with the club and its fans.
Seeing his mum and his dad and his close family, you know, the reaction on their faces and stuff helped to drive me on to, you know, to become the player I am today.
With a new millennium came a new midfielder, integral to Gerrard's development. Though new to the Liverpool outfit, he was vastly experienced and would provide an evolving Gerrard with the knowledge to command the centre of the park. Houllier signed a member of the old guard, the great Scot, Gary McAllister. Gary taught the energetic Liverpudlian how to slow down, use space to his advantage, and expand his passing range. International caps at the youth level were followed by the pinnacle of any English player, a call-up to the first team.
It's us in Liverpool. All right.
Yes, thanks, mate.
May the 31st, 2000. Gerrard debuted for his country in a 2-0 victory over Ukraine. His ability impressed Kevin Keegan, who included the youngster in his squad for the Euros. Gerrard featured off the bench once, as they disappointingly exited the tournament at the group stage. Back home, the masterstroke from Houllier paid off as Liverpool took 2001 by storm, sealing the treble with a League Cup, FA Cup and UEFA Cup triumph. Gerrard's talismanic figure was starting to show, capped off with an important The taste of silverware only fueled his desire to achieve more for the Reds.
I've grew up with him, so I know that means an awful lot to him. Over the years, Liverpool have not done as well as what we all would have liked, but I think this season has been a big plus.
And deep into the night, Monsieur Houllier was just not losing touch with that cup.
Gerrard Houllier, Gerrard, Gerrard.
Tell us what it was like at the game.
Absolutely terrifying. Those last 2 minutes were atrocious.
I felt physically sick.
It was daunting, actually, the stadium. It was really fantastic.
Last night, you had everything that you could possibly want. I mean, a scriptwriter couldn't have written it any better. I mean, if you'd asked me yesterday morning, write a script for the perfect game to enthrall people, I couldn't have done as well as that. I mean, the only thing missing last night, let's be honest, a Michael Owen goal.
It was like an image of times past. The Reds returning in triumph to be cheered by the city that always expects so much and now has so much to celebrate. The achievement is extraordinary, and for the team returning to savour their victory, this was their real reward.
I didn't expect as many people around the street for us, but I'm pleased and I'm very happy because they are happy. They are proud and they are happy, and they can be because the Liverpool players achieved a tremendous season.
So many turned out that the streets were lined along a 17-mile route. The exact number could only be estimated. The City Council expected 350,000 people. In the end, it seemed like many more.
Liverpool supporters have waited years for a moment like this, and thousands of people here will hope that this will be the start of more glory days to come.
The party will go on for days, and the treble will never be forgotten. But the challenge for Liverpool next season will be to add to this success with a Premiership title.
They continued their dominance into the autumn, lifting the Charity Shield and European Super Cup before the season had begun. Gerrard went from strength to strength and continued his England career under new management. After the FA made an unprecedented move to sign their first non-British manager, Sven-Göran Eriksson, he scored his first England goal that same year in a famous 5-1 win against rivals Germany.
Campbell's come up from the back. Back up to try again, maybe. Flipped in towards Ferdinand, and then Gerrard! Oh, what a goal! What a strike from Steven Gerrard!
The long-range strike into the bottom left corner helped England qualify for the 2002 World Cup. The niggling groin injury suffered in Liverpool's final game of the season led to Gerrard missing out on his first potential World Cup appearance.
Steven Gerrard is not coming with us tomorrow. He is going to see a surgeon in Belgium, I guess it is, and he might need an operation immediately.
The persistent injury wouldn't halt Gerrard's meteoric rise, exhibited for all to see in an instrumental performance in the 2003 League Cup final against historic rivals Manchester United.
Support arriving in the form of Risa here. Gerrard going for a deflected!
A trademark Gerrard strike from long range clinched a 2-0 victory. Delivering on the big occasions helped establish himself as the first name on Houlier's team sheet.
But what a big moment that is!
As events unfolded during an extraordinary day in the increasingly bizarre world of football, speculation about a player's strike turned slowly to reality. At the team's Hertfordshire hotel, there were closed doors, increased security, and little to confirm swirling rumours and the inevitable media feeding frenzy.
In the lead-up to an important Euro qualifier against Turkey, players took the risky decision to threaten to boycott the game in response to Ferdinand being dropped for missing a drug test.
The England players have at their disposal a number of options, and they have made it clear that one of those options is not to travel to Turkey.
What would be the implications if they don't go, if they refuse?
As we understand it, if we don't compete in the match on Saturday, according to the regulations which I read and checked last night, we will be disqualified from the tournament.
It had been a nerve-wracking 94 minutes, and when the final whistle blew, their relief was clear. England may not have won, but for the fans back home, a draw was good enough.
We were awesome. Campbell and Gerrard, top banana.
Awesome. Gerrard, Howard,
Gerrard.
We're there in Portugal. Brilliant.
We were in there, we were fighting, we're doing our thing. Fantastic, come on England, yes!
You're jumping for joy or in relief?
Relief and joy, obviously relief because we were under a lot of pressure to get a result tonight. We've done that, but also because we've just qualified for a major tournament.
In 2004, a year later, Gerrard attained his lifelong dream of leading the Reds down the tunnel as captain of the club he'd lived and breathed right from his earliest memories, taking the reins from Finnish stalwart Sami Hyypiä. Within 6 months, his stock had grown even more, assuming captaincy of the Three Lions in David Beckham's absence. At the age of 24, the world was at his feet.
Steven Gerrard captains a weakened squad in Sweden, but Eriksson knows he can ill afford injury problems for Euro 2004.
May 2004. Gerard Houllier departed, making way for Rafael Benitez. With any change of manager comes a period of adjustment. Already an influential player, Benitez noticed even more potential in Gerrard's game and looked to modify his mindset, making him more of a team player and furthering his tactical awareness. But Steven's character would be tested in the months to come.
Lisbon might be 1,400 miles away, but millions of us kicked every ball and sweated through every anxious minute, some in front of giant screens like here at the Glastonbury Festival. Most in their own sitting rooms, like the Fortune family in Birkenhead, celebrating Michael Owen's early breakthrough. It's been one of those special nights when normally busy streets are deserted, apart from the flags, and shops are so short of customers, checkout staff are left to watch the action.
It's estimated more than 20 million of us who couldn't be out there cheering England on are enjoying the next best thing.
The Prime Minister told us he'd be watching it.
Absolutely, certainly.
Wish them every possible good luck.
The Prince of Wales wished Sven's men luck. He had an official dinner tonight, but his sons were cheering England on. This was how they greeted England's opener in Birmingham's Centenary Square. This was how they came crashing down to earth at a packed bar in London's Temple District as Portugal equalised. The moment the Fortune family thought Sol Campbell and England had won it, only to realise the referee thought otherwise. There was the joy and relief when Frank Lampard made sure it was still all square at the end of extra time. And then the terrible agony of penalties. We'd been here before, and somehow you knew it was all going to end in tears. Our tears.
Having demonstrated his importance to the Liverpool outfit with his most consistent and impressive season till now, a mixture of insecurity and lack of love from those in the hierarchy of the club, coupled with a dwindling contract, pushed Gerrard to listen to offers. Jose Mourinho's Chelsea came knocking, but eventually a new contract was on the horizon.
After thinking it through and talking to his family, Steven Gerrard today proved that money isn't everything.
I've gone with a decision that's been in my heart, and I did that decision to stay at Liverpool Football Club. I love the club, I love the supporters, and that's what it boiled down to at the end of the day.
Decision that will delight the fans and the club.
Maybe it's, you know, a relatively rare, but it's a genuine good news story in mercenary times. Money's never entered the equation.
Liverpool clearly feel that they've had a lucky escape, and in the end it was Gerrard's loyalty over the lure of big money which has persuaded him to stay here. But if the club are going to hold on to their big stars in future, they're going to have to start winning and keep winning to compete at the very highest level.
The team soon coalesced to the change in personnel, reaching the final of the League Cup and finishing a respectable 5th in the Premier League. But it was their Champions League run that would have everyone talking. Liverpool faced an early exit from the competition and needed a win over Olympiacos to progress. Anguish surrounded Anfield after an early goal at the feet of Brazilian star Rivaldo, leaving Liverpool to score 3 goals in the second half to avoid departure. Liverpool scored 2 and needed only 1 more. With 3.5 minutes left on the clock, the ball dropped to their talisman, Gerrard, who hit a bullet from 8 yards outside the area, spawning the iconic reaction from commentator Andy Gray. For occurrence, when Liverpool needed inspiration, Gerrard delivered. With wind in their sails, the club progressed through the knockout rounds to reach the final in Istanbul, their first European Cup final since the 1985 loss to Juventus, known most notably for the Heysel disaster.
Moments before the stampede, Liverpool and Juventus supporters are separated by a flimsy chicken wire fence and a handful of policemen. Although the gendarmerie are already aware that many fans have been drinking and that some supporters on both sides have been taking drugs, no action is taken other than to strike out occasionally with a baton. These pictures were taken by a police unit, and as the British fans charge, there's not a single policeman in sight to stop them. 1,000 riot-trained armed gendarmes were outside the stadium, so was their commanding officer. The unit's Commandant-General had to assume control from a seat in the VIP box. He'd only gone to watch the match. By the time the police did move in force, 38 people were dead.
AC Milan stood in their way of cup glory, but 2 early goals conceded put the Reds on the back foot. The first editions running the game, inspiring an unlikely comeback to draw level 3-3.
Shevchenko must score. He must score. If Shevchenko misses, he saved it!
Gerrard's desire and passion to never give up until the final whistle paid dividends, capping the season off with the most illustrious prize in club football, returning to a ticker-tape parade. A new chapter in Liverpool's history was inscribed in stone with their 5th win in the competition. As Gerrard describes, the feeling he experienced that night mirrored that of facing fatherhood.
It's always nice to come and join in with the kids, and it brings back the memories of when I was young, and I used to play football outside my house with gangs of boys, and it's really enjoyable.
How important are campaigns like the Personal One, do you feel?
Well, I think it's very important. That's the reason why I got involved in it. It's connected to my upbringing. Getting out there, playing sport with my friends, getting dirty, you know, enjoying it, learning, and I think it's helped me to get where I am today.
And the message is much to the parents as it is to the children, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the parents have got a massive responsibility. You know, I'm a father now myself, and you know, when my kids get a bit bigger, I'll be encouraging them to, you know, to be good in school, do all the work, and then, you know, get out and enjoy themselves and get some exercise, because, you know, you've got it, when you have a real good thing about it, it's very important to, you know, get out there and get involved.
Looking ahead to when the European Championships start up again next year, what needs to happen between now and then?
Well, I think if you look at the bigger picture, the most important thing is to make sure that we qualify. You know, we've had a couple of bad results and we all understand that. So, you know, everyone needs a real big effort.
How much does the criticism hurt all the England players when you hear it?
Well, obviously it depends on how bad it gets, but I mean, you know, it's part and parcel of football, getting criticised. You know, if the criticism is constructive, you don't mind it, you can read it and get on with it and learn from it, but, you know, sometimes criticism's over the top, and that's the type of criticism we don't like, but it's part and parcel of the game.
I'll take that for now. Yeah, sorry.
That year, he was named PFA Player of the Year and received an MBE for his services to the sport. He was now the only player to have scored in the finals of the FA Cup, League Cup, UEFA Cup and Champions League, a record hard matched. He was now being mentioned in the same breath as many of the greats to have graced the game and had the medals to justify it.
Mr. D. Beckham, Mr. S.G. Eriksson, and 22 of the most talented footballers England has produced for a generation. This airline's used to flying the flag, but today that job fell to its most famous passenger. Lots of luck, David, but get back to your seat. The other captain wants to get moving.
Gerrard headed to the 2006 World Cup with confidence.
I had a chat with him today and he can deal with that and play that situation. So, you know, we're going to see a very attacking Steven Gerrard.
He played a vital role as England's top goal scorer in their journey to the quarter-finals.
80,000 in Germany, 50,000 just to watch on the giant screens. Convinced this time the curse of the quarter-final would be broken. But it was the curse of the red card that struck first. Fury and despair in equal measure as Rooney trudges on. England's fighting efforts with 10 men, so reminiscent of Argentina 8 years ago. By the end, the crowd were glad to have hung on for penalties, though all but the youngest perhaps should have known better. Hargreaves briefly had them believing that this time it would be different, but for Lampard and then Gerrard to miss, the nightmare was recurring. No matter how many times England fans go through this, it doesn't get any easier.
He'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you all about it, what it means.
I don't know what it is about penalties. I don't know what it is about having players sent off. It just seems to happen every time to us.
The weight of his country's hopes for revenge was too much to bear as he cracked under the immense pressure. The brutal exit and questionable tactics brought Eriksson's England career to a close. The FA signed Steve McLaren, who immediately placed the captain's armband on Terry, overlooking the likes of the Liverpool captain. The blow only fueled his ambition to push on and achieve more of his dreams.
The pressure is on Liverpool. This is, as you say, their only chance in this competition to win any silverware.
Liverpool's 2007 season didn't live up to their high expectations as they exited the FA Cup in the third round and finished third in the Premier League. But hope remained in their quest for European success. AC Milan once again stood in the way of cup glory. Milan looked to exorcise their demons over their capitulation in the 2005 final and were fortunate to deny a late surging Liverpool comeback to come out on top in a 2-1 win. But his injuries continued to dog his career.
Steve, just first of all, has the toe been okay over the weekend? No reaction for Saturday?
No, it's been fine, no reaction. Really pleased with how it's feeling at the moment. I've been in dialogue with Rafa all week and he's been asking how the toe is.
Steve, thanks for your time. Thanks, man.
December 2007. A dismal run of performances in the qualifications for Euro 2008 led to McLaren's role on the team being questioned.
Steve McLaren's tactics haven't delivered. England are on the brink of catastrophe. If they don't qualify for Euro 2008, it seems the players will be among the only people in favour of the manager keeping his job.
Steve, as somebody who's been playing for England for a while, don't you think it's inevitable that if England don't qualify for this tournament, then there has to be a change of manager?
No, not necessarily. You know, if you're asking me to, you know, I'm backing Steve McLaren, simple as that, and I'm sure all the other players are.
Although he had backing from many of England's golden generation, the team reached a new low, having failed to qualify for the tournament. McLaren was shown the door, making way for Fabio Capello.
Good morning, everybody. The FA board unanimously decided to terminate the contract of the England head coach, Steve McLaren, with immediate effect.
December 13th, 2007, Formby, Merseyside.
I was indoors watching Steve on the telly scoring goals, and I saw a helicopter with flashing lights all in the back garden, and thinking, oh, they must be looking for somebody. My son comes back from town after watching it, the football in a pub in town, saying, oh, there must be something wrong at the Gerrards. There's police and everybody around.
While playing away in Europe, news began circulating of a home intrusion. Gerrard was told the news as he left the pitch after leading his team to victory against Marseille in the Champions League.
Back on Merseyside, a gang of thieves were breaking into this, Steven Gerrard's millionaire home. Apparently bypassing the already elaborate security system, a gang of 4 masked men got inside the house last night. Inside they found Gerrard's wife, Alex Curran. There was a confrontation. She was unharmed, and the gang made off with a Rolex watch and 2 sets of car keys.
Like any footballer's mansion, Steven Gerrard's home is well protected, down a secluded road with a high wall and surveillance cameras.
Well, I don't know Stephen's security system, but I would imagine it's pretty good. A lot of us have got our own like alarms and CCTV, gated entrance and so forth.
But Steven Gerrard's burglary isn't a one-off. The Liverpool team have been targeted before. When they've played away from home, the players have returned home to find that they've been broken into. It was a glum-looking Gerrard who returned to his home this morning. His club says it's taking this latest break-in very seriously and will look at ways of protecting players' homes when they're playing away games or international matches.
Tonight the lights are on and the Gerrards are home. The word from inside is that they're just relieved no one was hurt.
On the same day as the ordeal, councillors of Knowsley voted to make Gerrard a freeman of the borough. And 2 weeks later, he was made a member of the Order of the British Empire in the 2007 New Year Honours for services to sport. Gerrard achieved another unique milestone, reaching 100 goals for his boyhood club. October 2008. In trademark style, he scored with a 76th minute power drive against PSV Eindhoven. December 29th, 2008.
You were here last night.
I was.
You've had your picture taken with 2 Liverpool legends.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What was the mood like in there last night?
Well, it was great. We were here, I was here with my friend John. I'm just up for a couple of days from London, and we came in, it was a friend's birthday, so that was in one side of the bar, Stephen was in another side of the bar. So, yeah, I got my picture taken with him, and it was all very nice, and just great, you know. I was really chuffed to have my picture with him.
How did he seem? How was his mood?
Well, he seemed great, you know. Obviously, just beating Newcastle 5-1, scored 2 goals, very relaxed, just chatting to his mates, you know, just in the restaurant area.
So at the time you were in here, the mood didn't seem at all nasty?
It seemed there was a fight in the other side of the bar, but that got dealt with, you know, straight away. Nothing to do with Steven Gerrard or his friends. So yeah, it seemed great. You know, we were having a great night. So.
And what time did you leave?
Well, I think we left about 2 o'clock. So.
Right. So this was
before the incident.
The other scuffle.
Would have kicked out. Yeah, kicked off.
And
so.
are you surprised to have heard things turn nasty?
I was, because he seemed in a good mood. He seemed buoyant. You know, it didn't seem like anything would have happened. You know, I had a quick chat to him in the toilet, and he seemed chuffed with the victory, and you know, it was all very nice.
When the police arrived at this nightclub, it was 2:30 in the morning, and when they got here, they arrested Steven Gerrard and 5 others on suspicion of assault. A 34-year-old man was then taken to hospital with severe facial injuries. Steven Gerrard and the others then spent the night in the police cells and most of today being questioned.
The club all gave Steven fantastic support, and deservedly so. And the Liverpool fans are superb as well. When somebody's feeling a little bit down, there's no better supporters to give you that little bit of a lift. And I know he'll be disappointed because he went out to enjoy himself, and they were enjoying themselves. They were getting pictures taken of us and signing autographs, the whole bit, when he was out. And he'll be disappointed what's happened.
The event raised questions about Gerrard's involvement, leading to a lengthy court battle to clear his name of any wrongdoing. Gerrard admitted hitting a man 3 times, but denied a fray, claiming he had been acting in self-defense. After 70 minutes of deliberation, the 29-year-old was the only one of 7 defendants to be cleared over the explosion of violence at the Lounge Inn, during which a man lost a tooth and suffered facial cuts.
I'm ready. Can I just say how pleased I am with today's verdict? I'm glad to put this case behind me. I'm really looking forward to the season ahead and concentrating on my football now. I'd just like to say a big thank you to my legal team and to my friends and family and everyone at Liverpool Football Club for supporting me. Thank you. Cheers.
Turning his focus from the court to the cop, Liverpool finished runner-up to rivals Manchester United in the Premier League. His performances and leadership earned Gerrard the highly coveted Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year award. Beating Ryan Giggs by 10 votes, Gerrard became the first Liverpool player in 19 years to win the award. Promiscuous revelations about the current captain's private life forced Capello to name Rio Ferdinand as captain. But an injury going into the 2010 World Cup changed Gerrard's fortunes.
Steven Gerrard has been handed the captaincy for the rest of the tournament. It's a measure of how significant Ferdinand's injury is to England's campaign that David Beckham's presence in his new role today has barely registered.
Achieving another lifelong dream, Gerrard was once again promoted and would lead his country into the only World Cup to ever be hosted by an African nation.
You can see that here from the Algeria performance. You know, we let the country down by underperforming, and we want to put that right. But I can see the hunger in the guys that we can't wait for this game to start to put it right, because we haven't enjoyed the couple of days, you know, the criticism and that feeling you get when you haven't performed and known that you haven't done yourself justice.
England scraped through the group of comparatively weaker teams to finish second, making way for a showdown against favourites Germany.
The leading actors, captain and coach, walking the stage on the eve of what they hope won't be their final performance.
There is a lot of pressure, and it is a tense situation because there's so much at stake, but it's more excitement and looking forward to it. We can't wait to get out there and hopefully win the game.
Those guys, the Lampards, the Gerrards, week in, week out for the teams, brilliant. They play for England, disappointing. Been to 3 games now in this tour, very, very disappointing.
July 2010. Gerrard returned home to a team in transition. After a disappointing season, a fresh start was needed. Out went Benitez. In came an experienced head, tasked with quelling the storm of uncertainty surrounding the club.
I've got to go that way there.
Down here in the centre, please. Can you just actually push it to the side slightly?
After a season of despair, smiles are finally returning to Merseyside. To say Roy Hodgson steadied the ship would be an understatement. Gerrard's going nowhere, Joe Cole has signed, and in one 15-minute chat he persuaded star striker Fernando Torres to stay put.
October 2010. A takeover of Liverpool was secured. The long-awaited change in the hierarchy elevated the atmosphere encircling the club. But a poor run of results led to calls for Kenny Dalglish to be reappointed. By the new year, the fans' demands had been heard. Nevertheless, Gerrard's injury woes continued to plague his career.
How careful do you have to be as well with Steven Gerrard on that?
Not any more careful and professional and intelligent than what we have been. I think most of the things about Steven we were asked last night, and we say exactly the same thing today, Vinny.
He says himself how much he hates sitting there in the stands and watching a game. So what's he been like about the place, and has it been difficult to keep his spirits up as well?
No, not particularly, no.
What kind of influence then does he still have about the place then?
Vinny, he's a captain of the football club, he's a talisman of the football club, he's played 20 minutes for us. He's on his way back, and we are absolutely delighted for him.
2012. England appointed former Liverpool manager Roy Hodgson.
Steven Gerrard was your captain at Liverpool. Is he in pole position to be England captain?
Well, that's another thing that will have to be very carefully thought out. So if you don't mind, I'll skip decisions like that at this first press conference, and in the days ahead, it's obviously going to be one of the things which will occupy my time.
Just as he did at Liverpool, he chose to place his faith in Gerrard. It is the first time he was named directly as skipper, not in place of an injured or unavailable captain. Leading his country out at one of his last major tournaments, lower expectations hadn't diminished the drive of the Three Lions to succeed. Gerrard provided 3 assists and won 2 Man of the Match awards to push England top of their group.
Previous tournaments, I think the reason we've gone out is because the level of performance has been under what we're capable of. I think we've got stronger as the tournament's gone on, and hopefully that'll be the same tomorrow night.
Italy stood in their way to the semis. The game ended 0-0.
Moving forward as a nation, we do need to try and improve with the ball. But as far as effort and commitment's concerned, as captain of the team, you know, I look around the dressing room and everyone's give everything they've got, and that's all you can ask for.
Back home now, earlier than they wanted. At least this time round they'll escape the onslaught that greeted Fabio Capello's squad after the South Africa debacle 2 years ago.
Despite their quarter-final exit, Gerrard was the only English player to be named in the UEFA Team of the Tournament. In 2012, Gerrard reached 2 new milestones. He played his 250th game for Liverpool as captain and became the 6th player to reach 100 caps for the Three Lions. Indisputable evidence of his longevity at the pinnacle of world football. July 15th, 2013. Gerrard signed a contract extension to stay with Liverpool and reimbursed their faith with a commanding season in which he scored his 100th Premier League goal and became Liverpool's highest goal scorer against arch-rivals Manchester United. One trophy had eluded the hands of the Liverpool legend, the Premier League. Liverpool reached the top of the table with 2 games left to play, with only a 2-point cushion. Fate was in the players' hands, until one misstep would haunt the Liverpool captain forever.
And that only Manchester City would be able to come between Rodgers' Reds and the first Premier League title for Liverpool Football Club.
though remained faultless, sealing Liverpool's fate in second place. Gerrard later described the period as the worst 3 months of his life. Though the season will be remembered for one moment, the history books will remember Gerrard becoming Liverpool's 6th top goalscorer and having the most assists that season.
What about Steven Gerrard? He's had a remarkable season and greatly the responsibility leading Liverpool, greatly the disappointment. Any concerns that he'll be able to pick himself up and lead this team for you?
No concerns whatsoever. But very disappointed for him, of course. I mean, I share his disappointment. I was very sad that he feels himself responsible for a mistake, which I think was not a mistake of him as an individual football player. I think it was a moment that happens in a game of football where you slip over, and it's unfortunate he slipped over at the wrong time, and a goal was scored, whereas in the game I'd seen when they played Manchester City, Vincent Kompany slips and misses a header and gives Liverpool the victory. It could have been so easily the other way around that people were now looking at Vincent Kompany as the man that handed Liverpool the title. So I've got to say I'm very philosophical about those things. I know it's harder for the players to be, especially when you're a part of it, but Steven is mentally extremely strong. He's extremely proud. He loves Liverpool, but he also loves England, and I don't have any doubt whatsoever that he'll be as good as he ever was during this World Cup for us.
But Gerrard couldn't dwell. The World Cup in Brazil was fast approaching, and with many of the golden generation retired, Gerrard's leadership would be integral. But pending questions about retirement were inevitable.
I'm desperate to do well from a personal point of view, and I'm also looking forward to the team doing well as well. You know, there's no bigger stage than the World Cup, and you know, with it being in Brazil makes it that extra bit special. And I think the reason why training's gone well, you know, over the last 2 weeks is because everyone's so excited how big this stage is.
And can you look further ahead in terms of your England career beyond Brazil 24?
We'll see. We'll see.
June 2014, Brazil. In his second World Cup as captain, Gerrard stood alone in imparting tournament experience to a squad forged with youth. As with most international tournaments, high expectations quickly evaporated in the Brazilian sunshine. England failed to make any impact with 2 straight 2-1 defeats against Italy and Uruguay. Gerrard captained England to their first group stage elimination since 1958, and their first elimination after just 2 opening matches. This was the first time that England lost 3 World Cup matches in a row, dating back to England's loss to Germany in the 2010 World Cup round of 16.
We so much wanted to do better. We're disappointed for the fans who've come out here. But we did try our very best. We left nothing on the field.
Gerrard's fall from grace had materialised in another World Cup failure, leaving many to ponder how much longer he'd wear the armband or even the shirt.
I'm still hurting very bad. I'm broken from what's gone on over the last couple of weeks. So I need to get away, get on holiday and basically clear my head before I make that big decision.
July 21st, 2014. Gerrard announced his retirement from international football, bringing the curtains down on a 14-year dutiful England career dogged by cup disappointments. Gerrard represented the Three Lions 114 times and became the 4th most capped England player, scoring 21 goals. As part of the so-called Golden Generation, the all-action midfielder featured at 3 World Cups and 3 European Championships. January 1st, 2015. After 17 years of playing at the highest level, Gerrard announced he would be leaving the club that had cultivated him. Contributing factors, from a delayed approach by the club for a contract extension to not being in the manager's plans and being left out of the Real Madrid game, significantly impacted his decision.
I look back at it with pride. You know, I'm really proud of what I've achieved here. All the trophies I've won and all the great memories I've had. But certainly not winning the Premier League will certainly be a dent in that.
There's nothing I can do about it now. And there's certainly a regret I'll go away with, but I've got to look at the big picture. You know, growing up as a boy, dreaming of playing for Liverpool just that one time, and sitting here now with 708 appearances, I've achieved an awful lot more than what I thought I would at the beginning.
In his final season at the club he grew up at, Gerrard continued to break records, becoming the first Liverpool player to reach 30 Champions League goals. He broke 700 appearances for Liverpool, 500 of which were league games, making the Liverpudlian only the third player to achieve 500 league games for one club.
Steven, great to see you, as always. A day on from the announcement that you made, saying that you will leave Liverpool Football Club in the summer, how do you feel?
Yeah, a bit strange. You know, I'm not going to lie. It's been an emotional 24 hours for myself and my family. But, you know, there's still 6 months to go and I've still got plenty to try and achieve. So I'm trying to keep me focused on that. You know, there'll be plenty of time for tears and sentiment come the end of the season. But, you know, it's been a tough 24 hours. You know, and I've had to do some tough things that, you know, I've never really thought of doing really for a long, long time. But now it's real. It's a bit of a strange feeling.
What possibly goes through your mind when making such a huge decision like that?
Well, I think first and foremost, I always have to put me family first.
As with many ageing players from the footballing world, the temptation of good weather, a healthy pay packet, and heightened anonymity abroad proved too enticing. From Liverpool to LA, Gerrard joined on an 18-month designated player contract worth reportedly $9 million.
We're so very excited to have him here. We're very fortunate that Steven chose the LA Galaxy.
I've had a bit of jet lag, you know, and moving into a new house, moving my family over. We've been in Liverpool all our lives, so it is new, it's fresh. It has been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's very exciting, and you know, for me now, I'm just looking forward to getting my boots outside on the pitch and hopefully getting some wins. Going forward, moving forward, it's all about success. Going forward, moving forward, it's all about success. You know, I come here to win. You know, if there's anyone out there who thinks I'm coming here for a holiday and a last paycheck, they'll be proved wrong very soon.
His impact during the 2015 season was disappointing, with some critics pointing to an unbalanced squad. Gerrard's signature inadvertently generated a domino effect of poor contractual decisions that dismantled the spine of the LA outfit. Though talk of a return to Merseyside intensified, Gerrard's second season was largely forgettable. Spending 18 months at the club, Gerrard contributed with 5 goals and 14 assists in 34 appearances. November 2016. At the age of 36, Gerrard hung up his boots on an exceptional career, one that cemented his name as one of the greatest midfield leaders the game has ever produced. The competitiveness and daily routine of senior European football outweighed all other desires. Gerrard opted to take the opportunity of managing one of Britain's most boisterous outfits, Scottish Premiership club Rangers, where every move would be scrutinised by the Bears.
I'm looking forward to the schooling. Yeah, you know, pressure's not a bad thing for me. I played under pressure. I've lived under pressure since I left school. I think in football, if you're working under pressure, you're in a good place.
He's a box office manager, box office player, but this is a box office club. It's a match made in heaven.
Potentially, I think it can be massive and he can do really good things. And it's great to feel this buzz around about the place again.
I don't think the guy will accept any kind of mediocrity. He'll expect people to be professional. And if he builds a team in his image, he can't fail. Simple as that.
Is this getting the blood stirring, Steven?
Yeah, of course. Incredible support, and you know, I'm looking forward to coming here and watching the team play in front of me. I need these people behind me.
Gerrard signed a 4-year contract ahead of the 2018-19 season. Under Gerrard's management, Rangers went 12 matches unbeaten in all competitions from the start of the season. 2020. Gerrard led Rangers through a record-breaking season, claiming back-to-back derby wins over rival Celtic, as well as topping their Europa League group. Rangers won the Scottish Premiership title without losing a single league match, receiving 102 points and conceding only 13 goals across 38 matches. Gerrard's first trophy win as a manager. November 2021. His success triggered further interest from leagues across the world, but Gerrard had unfinished business in the Premier League. Ready to make the move back to the league he never won, Gerrard accepted a contract with Aston Villa, taking his indispensable backroom staff with him to Villa Park. Results under Gerrard's management were mixed, as the team finished the season in 14th place, 3 places lower than the previous campaign. But questions arose over his man management style. Removing the captaincy from Tyrone Mings generated an unconfident dressing room, coupled with the loss of his first-team coach Michael Beale to QPR. Contributed to Gerrard's dismissal after just 11 months, having won only 2 from their opening 12. Gerrard spent almost a year out of contract, unable to work on a footballing project. But a new opportunity reared its head, shrouded in controversy. July 3rd, 2023. Steven Gerrard began a stint managing Al Ettifaq, a team based in the Saudi Pro League. For many marginalized and rights groups, the accusations of sports washing, the acquisition of entire sporting institutions and their stars with the sole aim of improving their reputation, tarnished by governmental wrongdoing, made many fans question the former Liverpool star's motives. From growing up on the estates in Liverpool to leading his country out at Wembley, Gerrard's journey to stardom is fraught with the highest highs and the lowest lows. The outwardly timid boy never gave up on his dreams of emulating the heroes he grew up beholding, and grew into a commanding presence in the middle of the park. Gerrard will remain as one of England's most influential players.
Gerrard! Howard! Gerrard!
Admired by most, he represented the quintessential English fan, loyal to his club and country. A fighter on the pitch, respectful off it. Gerrard was born to lead.